calculated from where the budget starts. You know, they've got to get the money they got to get to run that budget. So the taxes are a symptom of that. So we have to learn to say no. We have to learn to set proper priorities. And there's, you know, we need to not be a venture capitalist like the Worldview, sending the martini bar to the stars. There's places we can save money and places we can avoid spending money that will generate lower taxes over time. My entire career has been based on finding and fixing problems. Starting out as an aircraft electrician and then going on largely into being a programmer. That's what I do. I go and I find the problems, understand the requirements, the issues, and then I work with the team to figure out the answers.
Nobody at this stage of this podium has paid more taxes than I have. For 40 years, I paid my business taxes, I met payroll, and I contributed to my community. I know the effect of what taxes have. You have a terrific year, a terrific bottom line, and then you get the tax bill and you wonder where it all goes to. There's nothing that I know better and more intimately than the toll that taxes take on the individual and on the business owner. And I assure you, I will remember that and utilize that set of rules and those guidelines and that experience when it comes to looking at the taxes of Pima County.
I have something. Well, Mr. Christy and I have something in common. Who'd have thunk it? I too was a business owner, and I too know the toll that payroll taxes, excessive regulations, and high property taxes take, not only on a business, but on the individual. When we all decide to move somewhere new, what do we look at? The education, are there good schools for our children? We look at our services, we look at the crime rate, and we look at our taxes. If we want to chase away more people like we are continuing to do, then we should continue to raise our taxes.
Thank you. Supervisor.
Yeah, I've got something to add as well. Just to make sure we're all on the same playing field here. I've been a business owner as well. That treasurer system that I helped to develop, because the county didn't want to do anything with it because my employer didn't. I started a company with $200 in the bank, and our second year we earned $750,000 in gross revenue. So I know business as well.
Okay, thank you. We're going to move on to the next question. We're going to start with you, Ms. Closen. Pima County imposes a half-cent sales tax that goes to fund the RTA, the Regional Transportation Authority. Maricopa County has a 0.7 cent county sales tax that funds roads and prisons. Would you be open to considering a sales tax increase for Pima County?
I believe, just as a general overarching philosophy, is that the sales tax is probably the most fair way to tax people. What is your question? What was the last part of the question?
Would you be open to considering a sales tax increase for Pima County?
For what? I would have to know what it goes to. For the roads, I'm not going to approve a sales tax if I don't know what it goes to.
you would approve one if you knew what it was going for?
No, not necessarily, no. I would extinguish every humanly possible avenue by what I was saying earlier about trimming our budget, cut the low-hanging fruit, and yes, I know, that's probably not a good saying, but there is a lot of waste and irresponsible spending out there. I would start with that, then I would work on restructuring the economic structure of our county. Create a low tax and low debt environment. Stop with the selling of bonds. That $815 million bond proposition, thank goodness that didn't pass. Because we'd have $1 billion added to our already existing $1.4 billion debt. Then we have to work on our business after we get our economics in order and attract business to Pima County. And like I said earlier, I sound like a broken record, but expand our tax base so the individual, you, don't have to be taxed. After doing that, streamlining the development services, streamlining any kind of other, well, I've got a whole list of things, but streamlining, let's just leave it at that because I'm getting a 30-second man over here. After all those issues are extinguished, then I wouldn't take anything off the table, but I would absolutely do it as a very last resort.
Well, I think think we've learned in the past when former presidents have made promises they couldn't keep, no new taxes. Never say never. But much like my opponent, raising taxes would be a very, very last-ditch effort. And here as I stand today, I can't see approving it with, the voters have already spoken. They didn't want the bonds. They want us to show that we can manage our money correctly. They don't want more taxes. And if something changed down the road that changes that position, so be it. But as I stand before you today, I think we're the highest tax county in the state. There's no need to make it any worse. Let's learn to say no and learn to prioritize the things that are most important, which helps bring economic prosperity and new businesses and growing businesses to Pima County.
The last tax that Pima County significantly had was the Regional Transportation Authority's half-cent sales tax. That is a dedicated sales tax for a dedicated purpose, as it represents the most significant and successful model for infrastructure and road construction projects in Pima County. It has been widely received, and we here in this I-19 corridor and Green Valley in particular have reaped the benefits of it. That was a tax, but we knew exactly where it was going and what for. And that's the difference between a general overview of a widespread tax or a specific dedicated tax. The question is, do I want to have a general overview tax, widespread tax? At this point, I think we're taxed enough. There may come a time when we look at that RTA tax and may have to decide if we want to raise that or not. That's going to take a lot of transparency with the public and a lot of public discussion and disclosure, and that's what makes the RTA the successful model it is. And that might be an area where we might want to do a tax. But overall, Steve, I believe this county's taxed enough. We set our priorities right. We see where our spending is, and that's how we address the fact that we don't need to raise more taxes.
Okay, no.
All right, Mr. Backer, you're going to go first. We're going to go back to the road question. So, Pima County receives what's called HERF funds, Highway User Revenue Funds, that are supposed to go to be used for the purpose of maintaining existing roads. They get about $40 million a year from the state for that. In addition, they get all of the vehicle license tax for every single car that's registered in unincorporated Pima County. They also receive federal dollars to do road repairs and road maintenance. In addition, they have general fund money that they're supposed to use, as well as bond dollars that they got from, I think it was 1986 that they were supposed to use. Yet they spend anywhere between $10 to $15 million a year out of what is likely an $80 million road budget. If you become county supervisor, what specifically is your plan to optimize the use of those dedicated road funds and make sure that the county invests in our infrastructure?
Well, as I mentioned before, Supervisor Miller has a plan that she's laid out, and later today there'll be a link to it on my website after the debate that goes into great detail. I can't go into the detail here, but one of the things that calls out is that those HERF funds are being used for administrative and staff costs. Other groups, use their general fund for that. I think we should be no different. We should use that money for its intended purpose. And honestly, I'm a simple guy. If the roads aren't being fixed, exactly what are they administering? So the bonds that are out there, I guess, some of that money is going to pay back those bonds, and not all those bonds have even been issued. I think there's 8 that haven't been issued. And part of Supervisor Miller's plan is to not issue those remaining bonds, pay down those bonds, and then use that money instead of paying interest, use it on the roads.
Ms. Christy?
Repeat the question.
Well, basically, the county gets somewhere around $80 million to fix roads, and they spend 15 to 20 million, so less than a quarter of that money actually goes to road repair. So if you're county supervisor, what are you going to do to optimize those $80 million to make sure most of that goes to fixing the roads and other infrastructure?
I was appointed by the governor in 2009 to represent Pima County on the State Transportation Board. I watched how ADOT makes moves, programs, identifies, systematically approaches road construction projects. I served on that board for 5 years and chaired it. There's a lot that I can take from that model of how ADOT, who has been suffering from revenue loss just as much as every other entity has in this country during the Great Recession, and how they were able to program that and still maintain a construction maintenance project. That same set of experience that I had by serving and chairing the State Transportation Board for 5 years, I will bring to Pima County. It's a wide experience that I had. I have contacts throughout the state when it comes to transportation issues and funding. I was intimately involved in it for 5 years, and I will bring that experience to the Board of Supervisors. It goes also with what I was saying earlier about a forensic accounting system. We need to know, why is that HERF money being misspent or spent elsewhere? Why is it not going to roads? Somewhere along the line, we're not getting a full, transparent answer. A forensic accounting system will lead us to find out why that's going. And with my knowledge on the State Transportation Board and on the Regional Transportation Authority as well, that experience, those sets of tools, I will be able to utilize to find out and to maintain and to make sure that when we get revenue in for roads, that it goes for roads.
All right, Ms. Closen.
Well, I don't need a forensic accountant to tell me where the road money is going. I can tell you where it's going. Our road money is being wasted. In 2014-15, we received $63.2 million in HERF funds. A little over $16 million of that actually went to road repair and pavement preservation. Where did it go? I'll tell you where it goes. Well, actually, side note, check my road repair plan, which I came up with myself. It's on your chair. You may be sitting on it, just to let you know. So check under there later. And it details all my plans of my road repair. And it includes where the HERF money goes. In fact, there's a handy dandy little diagram on there that's very self-explanatory. The road money goes to $20 million every year, goes to paying off our 1997 bonds. $6.1 million of it goes to subsidize the RTA for transit. $5 million goes to Transportation Department overhead, which includes special projects such as graffiti abatement programs and neighborhood community associated programs. That's where our money's going, folks. I think there's room for trimming. I think there's room for cutting of our overhead. And as far as the 1997 bonds are concerned, we are still providing, for instance, Houghton Road and Houghton Bridge will be funded by 1997 bonds. And the construction is supposed to start this fall. So it's not entirely realistic to say we can just cut out the 1997 bonds and we have a $20 million savings. My husband and I were at a neighborhood association meeting, and the 1997 bonds are going to the new roundabouts. Have you all heard about the new roundabout projects that are coming? Some of those bonds are going to the roundabout projects. That's the type of cutting that I would encourage. That projects haven't happened yet. But the main 30 seconds.
No, that's actually.
Oh, that's
done.
done.
Yeah, the white one means 30 seconds,
Okay.
the red one means you're done.
Okay, look at my note here.
All right.
Thank
So,
you.
anybody, 30 seconds, Mr. Backer.
So I wanted to commend my opponent, Mr. Christy, because it took some bravery to stand up here and admit to a room full of people that drive on our roads that he's had anything to do with the roads over the past several years.
Hey, hang on, I'm gonna stick up for him on that one. The state, he was doing, not the county.
But still the road.
All right.
And then Marla, I think not doing away with the bonds that are already in place, just simply not, moving forward with the bonds that haven't been used yet.
All right.
I have to respond to that statement. While I was the only member of the State Transportation Board that was representing Pima County, and guess who has more than one seat on that board? Maricopa County. I was there fighting for jobs and fighting for projects and fighting for construction projects that were going to be taken away by the powers that be at the State Transportation Board and by the Arizona Department of Transportation. I saved the widening of I-10 between Marana and Picacho, and now we're going to have the whole I-10 corridor widened because of my efforts when I was on that State Transportation Board. And if it had not been for my leadership capability on that, we would not have what we have today as far as road projects in Pima County.
Thank you, Mr. Christie. Ms. Closen, do you want to
May I clarify that? That's state road projects, correct?
Correct.
Under the state transportation system, okay. Just a comment about 1997 bonds. I don't know if all of you know. They will expire in 4 years, and we will have quite a bit of additional money freed up to go towards our roads.
Okay, we're going to start with Mr. Christy on this one. Some see Supervisor Allie Miller as a divisive figure on the board. Others say she has pointed out long overlooked flaws in how the county conducts business. How do you see her?
I feel very firmly and very strongly that I will be able to work just fine with Allie Miller. And I'll tell you what I think we'll be able to do even better, and I believe even more firmly, and that is when we get 3 Republicans on the board.
You didn't answer the question. How do you see her? Not how can you work with her?
Well, first of all, how can I work with anybody? Because I have that 40-year experience. I sold cars up and down this valley to all types of people, all from all different backgrounds. I know how to deal with people. I served on the State Transportation Board, Regional Transportation Authority, with people from all different walks of life with different agendas. I have the ability to get along with anybody as long as they're willing to try. Allie Miller, I feel, has been making and taking the time to and the effort to ask the questions that needed to be asked. I admire her for that, and I feel once she gets some support from me and hopefully a Republican majority, that we'll even be more effective and be able to give her the support that she's been looking for and lacking in the last 4 years.
Getting along with people. I didn't own and operate a business which relies on networking and getting along with people. I owned a successful business. I couldn't have done that if I couldn't get along and manage people. I didn't make Navy Chief in 6 years if I couldn't get along with people and I couldn't manage people. Having a professional and respectful demeanor to your coworkers, to your boss, to your underlings, and a professional working relationship with anyone you work with is simply just a key to common decency and a good professional relationship. However, I'll have to say, going along is not the same as going along to get along. And I believe in this Supervisor Miller's case, I think she stood up and brought up a lot of points, and she didn't jump on the go along to get along bandwagon like my predecessor has, or like my opponent whose supporters say he will get along with the Democratic majority. We need a fiscally responsible majority on this board. That's the main thing we should be thinking about right now. Not individual personalities. Of course, everyone's going to attempt to get along because we're all professionals. But let's concentrate on what matters here, and that's to get a majority vote of conservative fiscal people on our board so we can make the changes that really need to be made.
So to very succinctly answer the question, I see Allie Miller as someone who cares deeply about the community in which she serves, who's willing to take the heat because she believes in what she believes in. She does impeccable research, and she's in a fairly thankless position being in the minority. And standing on your own isn't easy. And like my opponents, we all want to change that. And like them, I've got a history of working with everybody. In my current job, out of 8 people, my manager selects me to go talk to customers who might not be so happy. And by the time they leave, not always, but most of the time, they're a lot happier. So I'm sure I can work with Supervisor Miller, and not only work with her, but I'll look forward to working with her.
Nobody knows customer service better than a car dealer, believe me, and I've had my 40 years experience with it that I will utilize as a board. I have a very diverse group of supporters, and they are not in any way associated with any singular viewpoint, except for the dire need for experienced business leadership on the board of supervisors, and that's what I represent, and that's why I want your vote for supervisor.
All right, so the next question, again, I keep going back to the tax thing. I'm sorry, but I think it's one of the biggest issues in Pima County. The county administrator has proposed a $1.23 billion budget. When I first moved to Pima County back in 2004, the county budget was about $800 million a year. It has gone up almost $500 million, which is quite a significant increase over basically a 12-year period. And it's quite astonishing that the voters of this county sadly have been bearing that burden. He's also asked for a 2.6% property tax increase to pay for that. Yet Mr. Huckleberry has what's known as his Ministry of Propaganda. No offense to my good friend here sitting next to me, but it's made up of mostly defunct newspaper editors and washed up reporters that he has hired to put on his payroll.
Are you running for office?
No, I'm speaking the facts here. This is the facts.
Ask a question.
And what Mr. Huckleberry does is he uses that organization to spread what I consider propaganda to misrepresent what the county's doing with that money. So you have a $1.23 billion budget. So give us your assessment of what you think that budget is for, the proposed budget, and what would you do to challenge it? We're going to Ms. Closen, I think is next. Yes, Ms. Closen.
Okay. In regards to taxes, I think I talked a little bit about this. I touched on this a little bit earlier. Our property taxes are raising, and I propose to actually mandate a list of projects, designated payments, and property purchases that actually increase transparency and let us know what our tax money is going to be spent on before any tax is addressed. I will spend our tax money like it's my own money. I already mentioned that. I'm kind of repeating myself because there's similar questions, but I would like to take this opportunity to bring up one of Mr. Huckleberry's self-help tax plans, which I just heard at a Green Valley Council meeting last month, actually. Mr. Huckleberry wants a special assessment for fixed income people in Green Valley, that's you, so he can continue to shirk his responsibility in coming up with a plan to pay your roads. His plan is to tax you, put that special tax into a fund, and then pay all your roads. I will extinguish every possible avenue before resorting to a special tax which is levied upon only a portion of our community. You have told me personally, I have talked to you for a year, going door to door, and you people of Green Valley have told me personally that you do not want another tax increase. You cannot afford it, and I am listening. I will do everything in my power to avert this special tax because I don't agree with it. Part of our road problem and
30 seconds.
Taxing in general is the lack of will to, I bring the roads in, to fix our roads and the lack of will.
All right, we gotta stick to the.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Your 30 seconds, you only get 30
seconds.
seconds, so that was that. So,
Oh, yes, yes.
yeah, so, do we have any,
Sorry, I did, I didn't
oh, she was 2 minutes.
Yeah, I thought, okay, you confused me.
That's all right, Dan's taking over now.
No, I'm good. Frank, maybe you'd like to continue.
Hang on, I just turned 50.
Would you like my microphone?
I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay.
I saw the guy
You got
raise
me thrown for a
I saw the
minute
guy
too
raise
there.
the 30-second thing, and I thought we were doing the 30-second. I apologize.
I'm almost done anyway. I'm wrapping it up. Do one of these, right? Our tax plan is, our county knee-jerk taxes. No spending, savings. No stopping of special interest. Knee-jerk tax, and I'm against it.
So what would a bureaucrat do with $1.2 billion? Anything he wants, I guess. Seriously though, I guess we would go find another balloon venture to spend money on. We'd go out and buy land we don't need. We would go out and not take care of our sheriff's deputies. We would certainly be doing the wrong things with the money. And there's far enough money there to do what we need to do and what we have to do. Maybe not everything we want to do, but everything that's important. And maybe one way we can rein that back a bit is to take Mr. Huckleberry's $320,000 a year salary, if memory serves me correct, and tie it to the effectiveness of the budget. Maybe when the budget goes up, his salary goes down. Maybe then that would change it.
40 years of owning and operating my business in Pima County, I know what it means to look at expenses, and in order to control and make your business profitable, you have to constantly look at expenses. I love when I got my financial statement, I could look at the expense side and see where I could make cuts and modifications and changes to reduce expenses. That same set of knowledge and expertise I will bring to the board. And one thing that Alan Miller has pointed out, I think that is very true, and you don't see it because we have a board of spectators, as my slogan is. Because we don't have study sessions. This board of supervisors never studies anything. They don't take any time to reflect and look and investigate and to analyze something as significant as any number of things, but primarily the budget. That needs to be analyzed and have specific, dedicated study sessions. And none of this rushing through and approving the budget, which is the easy thing to do when they have the majority and they have the direction from Mr. Huckleberry. I'll get on that board and I'll make sure that the whole process slows down and that we have real-time effort to be putting into analyzing that budget and finding out where the money is going and where we can cut. And this idea that we need to have over $1 million in some kind of a public relations firm to tell the world how great Pima County is or how great Pima County is doing, to me is a sham, and that's one of the first things I would cut when I got there.
All right, now we have 30-second follow-ups.
Okay.
All right, so.
May I go?
Yes.
Okay. Part of analyzing the budget as a supervisor is simply doing the due diligence required. That's it.
That's 10 seconds.
Yeah. You only need 20 seconds.
Okay, Mr. Backer, we'll start with you. Pima County has a rough track record when it comes to luring business startups and helping existing businesses grow. Why do you think this is the case, and what would you do to encourage economic development in Pima County?
Well, according to that survey, it's a little dated, but the most recent I could find, the top 3 things that were of issue were the condition of the roads, our infrastructure, including taking care of our sheriff's deputies and our education. Certainly those things need to be addressed. And along in part of that, when somebody flies into Tucson International with my job, I fly about 75% of the time, or have up to this year, so I know TIA very well. When somebody flies in and drives up Tucson Boulevard and maybe a mile in decides they can't do business here, we're not doing ourselves any favors. We need to take care of those things. And perception is reality. So, get rid of the burdensome permitting processes, those types of things, let's streamline things. Basically, the simple answer is, let's make it as easy for businesses to do business here as possible. And talk to them and talk to each other about how we can best accomplish that. And, when we do that, we need to promote the fact that we've done this. And I don't know about you, but back in my day growing up, we didn't get participation awards. We got first, second, third, and so forth. I'm frankly very sick and tired of seeing Pima County on the bottom of the surveys that we should be on the top of. Let's work together and change the perception after we change those things that are causing the bad perception.
Being born and raised in Pima County, I've seen in the last few years a real significant decline in the business community and how the county approaches businesses and attracts businesses and tries to retain them, and it's abysmal. I have 3 daughters. 2 graduated from the University of Arizona, and 1 graduated